Categories of locksmiths. You have self-employed locksmiths. That's a guy that has a cell phone and a van or a vehicle or a truck, whatever he chooses to work out of. He's got 15 really good accounts and he makes a very good living. Or he wants to work part-time. If he wants to work part-time, it's critical that you follow the manual and only call on the kinds of accounts that will allow you to work for yourself. Let me give you an example without making this video too long. The type of accounts that you would need to work for yourself is you want like a realtor that knows you very well. There's going to be times that she's going to need you at 2 o'clock and you just can't be there. But many times, more than none, if she has rental properties that she wants you to rekey, she'll say, Bob, can you go do this? And yeah, fine. Anytime after 5, I'm yours. And you have about 10 of those. My goodness, you go out and rekey 2 houses, you've made more than you've made in 3 days at your regular job. So that's an employee, which is number 2. Well, actually, there's 2 parts of number 1. Self-employed, and then full or part-time employed locksmith. The next one is a locksmith that is an employee. He is a guy that works for another locksmith. Now, let me say this about how much a locksmith can make, and I'm just going to touch on this. When you read government statistics, they're not talking about self-employed locksmiths. They're talking about employed locksmiths. They make $10 an hour to $15 an hour, and many shops do it differently. Some shops will pay you 60-40, you use your own truck and equipment. They used to do that. They don't do that anymore. They pay you by the hour. And then if you want to work at night, they pay you 50% of the ticket. Some of them do, some of them pay you only 40%. It depends on the place that you work for. But when you see that figure of $29,000 a year, $29,000 to $50,000 a year, that's where they're getting that figure from. They're getting it from an employee locksmith, but that's not what we're talking about. It's not what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about a self-employed locksmith. Number 3 is maintenance department locksmiths. Example, then again, they didn't get their figures of how much a locksmith makes from that. They get that from how much does a maintenance man make. But the truth of the matter is, if you're going to apply for a job at a maintenance department and you put on there, I have locksmith experience, I can tell you this, just from owning my own company, that if you know how to do that, you're worth your weight in gold to that hospital, school district, wherever it is. Because locksmiths charge a lot. Believe me, they do. They charge a lot. The companies know that. They want to hire somebody that wants what they think is job security. But most guys that go into self-employed locksmithing, the reason that they do is because they want job security. You're not going to fire yourself. And you know it only takes 15 real good accounts to make an excellent income. So you know, if I do that, I work for myself, I pay my taxes, I can write off a lot of stuff that I couldn't write off as an employee, and my net profit, and I can set my own hours. I mean, the list goes on of the benefits of being a self-employed locksmith. The 4th one is you have been in the business a long time. You've built a business that is, you've got so many calls coming in that you just can't run. You're turning down calls, bottom line. And you're the type of person that likes to have your own shop. You like your name. You like your name on a billboard, right? So you open a shop. Now, think about a shop for a second. I have had 7 people working for me at one time and owned a shop. I will tell you this, my net profit, now we're talking net, what's left over after everybody's paid, my net profit was twice what it was when I had 7 people working for me. My gross was double or 3 times or 4 times more, but my net profit, we're talking what's left over that I can spend, was more when I worked for myself. Consequently, I closed my shop, kept my good accounts, and ran on myself and worked for myself. You say, well then, how do you ever have any time off? Very simple. I have friends in the business and I say, John, I'm going to be going out of town. I want to go out for 3 weeks to my wife to the Bahamas or wherever you choose to go. Would you watch my accounts for me? We've been friends for so long, he's not going to steal, Mag Hike Enterprises from me because he knows that's one of my biggest accounts. but he will go take care of them for me. Why? Because I do the same for him. Consequently, we have the best of both worlds. But you're going to find locksmiths to specialize now. Let's talk about specializing. We've talked about locksmiths, what different types of locksmiths there are. Do I want to learn to be a locksmith and then go to work for somebody? If that's the case, in the manual we cover what not to say. You walk in there and tell them that you just graduated from Mingo Bingo Locksmith correspondence course, that locksmith's going to stamp $2 on your forehead because he understands that you have a basic knowledge of the concept, but you've never physically done it. So he knows you're worth about $2 an hour to him. So there's a section in the manual that we're going to look at that talks about that. So you got 4 areas of locksmith. You got your general locksmith, which is where everybody starts as a general locksmith. And believe you me, I know general locksmiths that make just as much as the next category that we're going to see here. You got general locksmiths, you got automotive specialists. This guy does nothing but cars. Probably the reason that you even thought about becoming a locksmith is you lost your keys to your car once, right? You lose your keys to your car, and the next thing you know, a guy comes out, he spends 20, 30 minutes out there, and he hands you a bill for $372. And you go, I'm in the wrong business. Maybe you might be. But they specialize, they're locksmiths, they are locksmiths, general locksmiths, but they specialize in automotive. The next category, number 3, is they specialize in safes. Now, in our program, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit, we teach you hand change, key change, and how to manipulate a safe dial. Let's say you get a call and the guy says, the safe, I can't get it open. It opened yesterday, but it didn't open today. There's a way to manipulate the dial with a rubber mallet that you can usually get the safe open. You can charge him a ton of money for that because it was locked up, right? And so forth and so on. But let's say you get this kind of call. I've got a safe in the basement that weighs about 800 pounds. Belonged to Jesse James, right? Safes go back that far, by the way. Belonged to Jesse James or my grandmother, and I need to have it opened. Well, we're talking about a whole nother arena there. Because when I was a young locksmith, I worked at one of the largest locksmiths company in the city that I lived in. And they had guys there, they had safe guys, they had car guys, they had general locksmiths. They had a whole category of different ones. One other one we're going to talk about here in a second, but we're talking about safes right now. I remember going out to a job and there was a young locksmith out there that just thought he knew everything. I mean, this guy, he thought he was James Bond. So we get out, I walk in this business, and this little bitty short guy, and he turns around and looks at me, and his eyes are about that big, and I could see just sheer panic on his face. And I looked at this door, and there were 1,000,000 holes he had drilled into this door because he didn't know where the drill points were. He thought he did, but he didn't. And then he drilled the hole in the right place, actually, but he drilled it too far in, and he hit the wheel pack. And if you know anything about safes, you know that you just made a big blunder. So anyways, bottom line is, when I saw that, I go, you know, I'm not a big guy, I'm 5'7". Then I weighed, what, 128 pounds soaking wet in my 20s. I said, man, this guy had to have one of the other locksmiths that were a good safe guy come out, open the safe, and then they had to take the door off and take it to the shop. Now we're talking a door that weighs a ton, up a flight of stairs, into the van, and it wasn't the van, it was like the safe moving truck that you have to have as a safe specialist, and move this door to the shop where they could spot weld the holes, repaint, and finish the entire safe and give it back to the people. So when I saw that, I said, you know what? Hand change, key change, and manipulation, that's where the money is, because I don't want to get into that kind of work. Excuse me. So that's something for you to think about getting into the business. But I will tell you, every one of these guys that we've talked about started out as a general locksmith. And I will tell you this, my net at the end of the month was exactly the same as John's. Exactly the same. He worked for himself, he did his own work. His net and ours, mine was exactly the same. Sometimes I even made more money than he did, depending on the calls that you have, the accounts that you have, and we talk about this in the manual. So, reasons to be self-employed. One, most important in today's environment anyways, is job security, to have good job security. Second is good income. And third is you can set your own hours.